and our wonderful veterans. So we love our veterans. For 242 years, it's a long time, American independence has endured because of the sweat, blood, and sacrifice of the American armed forces. Tomorrow, families across our nation will gather to celebrate the 4th of July. As we do, we will think of the men and women serving overseas as this very moment far away, far, far away from their families, protecting America and watching over our people. They are there, and they are with us, and they are brave. These are incredible people. And we will thank God for blessing us with these unbelievable heroes.
And they are heroes. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have tonight. But don't forget to buy a copy of my book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, The Case Against the Anti-Trump Conspiracy. Thanks for being with us tonight. We hope you have a great 4th of July. Laura Ingraham is next.
Good evening from Washington. I'm Laura Ingraham, and welcome to this special edition of the Ingraham Angle, Our Country, Our Culture. And on the show tonight, a new trend or a social media phenomenon. The founder of the walkaway movement is here tonight to tell us why former liberals are leaving the left behind. And is the next generation in this country actually proud to be American? We're going to show you some of the shocking responses when Raymond Arroyo joins us for Seen and Unseen. Plus, TV legend Suzanne Summers joins us for an inspiring conversation. You're going to love this, about her career from Three's Company to self-help maven. Don't miss that. But first, the casual smearing of a potential Supreme Court nominee over her Catholicism. Now, it's been just 5 days since President Trump announced his shortlist to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy on the Supreme Court, a decision he will reveal in less than a week. In the top 5 of most court watchers was a former Notre Dame professor and current appellate judge for the 7th Circuit, Amy Coney Barrett. Now, she's quickly found herself on the receiving end of most of the media fire.
She got into quite a well-publicized conversation about being a religious Catholic with Senator Dianne Feinstein. Her name is Amy Coney Barrett.
His list is all people who we have an understanding are in opposition to Roe. You know, Amy Barnett went to Notre Dame. She is very Catholic.
She's Catholic, has 7 children, and is a member of a small religious group called the People of Praise, where members swear a loyalty oath, what they call a covenant, held accountable to a personal advisor called a head for men and a handmaid for women.
Ooh, sounds so ominous. Well, it's amazing that the same people who attacked the president for applying what they called religious tests to enter the country can now so flippantly toss around questions about someone's Christianity with impunity. As David French wrote in National Review yesterday, quote, "Ignorance leads to suspicion, and suspicion leads to fear. Yet this fear cannot and must not be permitted to trump reason." Amy Coney Barrett is at the peak of her profession. She shares faith practices with millions of co-religionists. Her faith experience is their faith experience. And if progressives seek to block her from the nation's highest court because of it, they'll betray our nation's founding ideals. Joining us now to discuss is Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League, Wall Street Journal columnist Kimberly Strassel, and former federal prosecutor Venu Verghese. All right, let's start with you, Venu. I'm watching this play out about Amy Coney Barrett, and I'm thinking to myself, the left is really at desperation point. Like, it's DEFCON 1 for them on the desperation scale. They're not going to be able to stop Trump's next nominee from being on the court. So they take these sort of glancing blows initially about her faith, and now it's, oh, she's a member of a cult. Venu, why is she unqualified to sit on the Supreme Court?
Well, I would first look at her record. She's only been an appellate court judge for 5 months. Before that, she was a law professor. I mean, there are people no more in the ivory tower than law professors. So her background is thin, her record is thin. So that's the first thing. That's the thing that concerns me more than her religion. Look, her religious beliefs are fair game. I mean, if she happened to be a Muslim, you'd want to know whether she supported jihad. If she's an Orthodox Jew, you'd want to know whether she believes in sucking out blood during circumcision. These are the kind of questions that are fair game, because she seems to be outside the mainstream of Catholicism.
Well, she's not, but let me just say, she has explicitly said, and Kimberly, you should get in on this, she's explicitly said that religious beliefs should not be permitted to have to align with court cases. She's explicitly addressed this question, but that is not good enough for the left in this case, because I think because she's such a strong candidate, and I don't remember people like Vanu claiming that Barack Obama didn't have enough experience to be commander-in-chief of the world's largest army, but let's put that aside. Kimberly.
Well, actually, none of those questions that were just posed, in fact, are relevant to her candidacy and her fitness for sitting on the Supreme Court. We should care about what her positions of law are. And, Laura, it doesn't matter, though, who this candidate, who his pick is going to be. That list contains some of the most brilliant jurists in the country. They're thoughtful, qualified, and wise. And precisely because of that, people who do not like Donald Trump, who are very worried about what this new pick will do to the shift of the court, are not going to be talking about the Constitution or separation of powers or judicial philosophy. They're going to make this into a smear, because it's going to be their best and only shot to try to stop someone, because they can't do it on the basis of arguing they're not qualified for the court.
Bill Donahue, the people of praise, this group of Catholics who support each other, and I guess there are a couple thousand across the country. It's important to her as a mother, as a wife. It's something she's been a member of for some time, since I guess her days at Notre Dame. That specifically is being used to smear her as essentially a cultist. Your reaction?
Well, I think I know what a cult is. This certainly is not a cult. It's a charismatic renewal group, which is a family-oriented Catholic organization. And in fact, the Pope, is hardly considered a man of the right, welcomed them just last year at the Vatican. Now, look, let's remember the seminal statement by Senator Feinstein. She said, "The dogma screams loudly in you." Now, that's nativism. That's a throwback to the 19th century. That's coming awfully close to establishing a religious test. And then we have Senator Durbin. By the way, I wrote to both Durbin and Feinstein last September, asking them a series of questions about Amy Coney Barrett, because they were out of line. I mean, we had Durbin saying, well, I want to know what it means to be an Orthodox Catholic. Well, he said he went to school for 19 years in a Catholic school, and I guess he still didn't learn what the term Orthodox means. I tried to help him out. It means that somebody who accepts the teachings of the Catholic Church. That's about it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, this smacks of an animus against someone, and I don't care whether you're Catholic, Jewish, Muslim. You want to ask people some questions about your personal convictions. You have every right to do though. But she has said so in 1998. That if you're caught as a Catholic dealing with, you're stuck between the church's teachings on capital punishment and the legal precedent, then maybe you should opt out. She's been very, very clear that your personal conviction should not determine your judicial outcome.
Yeah, she made that comment about you're not required to align, and you can't align court dealings with the faith that you practice. And she's been extremely explicit about that. Vanu, there was one tweet which really caught my eye, and I want to share it with you. This is from our friends at the Center for American Progress. As a judge, Barrett sided against an African-American worker in favor of a company's separate but equal arrangement, flying in the face of the Civil Rights Act of '64. Now she's up for a seat on our nation's highest court. Safe go to stop Barrett. One problem with that, Vanu. She wasn't on the 7th Circuit when that case was heard. Obviously, she wasn't on the 3-judge panel when that case was heard. But this is how slipshod the criticism of Barrett is. And you know what I really think they're bugged by? I think a lot of these people on the left are bugged by the fact that she has 7 kids. I'm sorry. I think they find that weird. I know Bill probably agrees with me on this.
Absolutely.
I think they think people with a lot of kids are weird. I think they think they're weird. And I think that's actually, that bothers them. But go ahead.
Look, that tweet has been debunked. That's been pretty clear. So the issue really, though, is her experience. And as I've mentioned...
So did you criticize Obama when he ran for president after, like, a breath in the U.S. Senate?
Different issue. Being U.S. Senator,
it's not a different issue. It's about experience.
Sitting on
to have the highest position in government, the president of the United States.
Sitting on the Supreme Court's a different issue than running for senator, running for president. As we've known, there have been people with very little experience. JFK had very little experience when he became president.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about somebody who's going to... It's a lifetime appointment.
Right. Justice Thomas was on the D.C. Circuit for not a very long period of time. He was EEOC commissioner, his education at the Education Department. He's turned out to be, you might not like his judicial philosophy, but even Harvard had to admit in a law review article that his jurisprudence and his writing and his decisions have been incredibly impressive. He's been a force for good on the court.
Everyone sitting justices, including Neil Gorsuch, who is criticized definitely a lot, had tremendous experience with her either as a judge or something else. Her issue, she was a law professor for most of her life.
Now law professors need not apply. First, Catholics need not apply. Now law professors need not apply.
That's my biggest issue with her.
Okay, well, now liberals are against the ivory tower. I guess we're making progress.
I also went to Catholic school my whole life, as Bill does, as we were talking about right before.
Can I dare to suggest? Can I dare to suggest that this really isn't even about religion? This is the convenient way that they are going to attack Barrett, because they can't attack her on the law, and because there's a desperation.
There's not much to attack her on the law.
They know. Yeah. Well, no, they know. Unlike Gorsuch, when he was appointed, he didn't really change the direction of the court. But this is step-up time. And if one of President Trump's front-runners, especially if they have a good record, is seated on that court, it is going to change the direction of it for generations. So they will pull out whatever they can.
Yeah, anyone is on the list.
This happens to be the most convenient way to go against Barrett.
Yeah, Bill, I have to get one more word in. Bill, in the end, though, I feel a very strong anti-Catholic bias running through all of this, and you've seen it come up before, and I think it's running through this. Yeah, I think Kimberly's right. They want to nix all these people, but I think her Catholicism, the fact that she takes it seriously, it holds up a mirror to a lot of what's going on in the culture today, and they don't like that.
I agree with you on Kimberly. And let me be explicit. The two people I was most concerned about, Durbin and Feinstein, when Roberts was put up about 13 years ago, guess who was questioning his Catholicity? Durbin and Feinstein. Now, Durbin will say, listen, I went to Catholic schools. By the way, Feinstein went to Catholic schools herself, even though she's a Jewish gal. I'm not saying that they're bigots. I am saying that there's something there which I think is unseemly, and it's not exercised against others.
Yeah, Senator Graham asked Guys, we're out of time. We got to move on to Judge Napolitano, but thank you all. Fantastic segment. It isn't just Amy Barrett's comment. Amy Barrett's comments, her religiosity that seemed to be scaring our mainstream press. The LA Times recently wrote a piece titled, Judge Coney Barrett, a potential Supreme Court nominee, has defended overturning precedents. Well, as a lot of keen observers have pointed out, so has every justice who ever sat on the Supreme Court. So let's bring in Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, thanks for being with us tonight. So why do you think Barrett is suffering the brunt of the backlash over the last few days? Is it the fact she's the only woman on the list, and that might be harder for them to criticize down the road, so they want to deal with that now, or what is it?
Well, you and I both know that anti-Catholicism is the last acceptable prejudice, acceptable in the establishment, acceptable in the mainstream media, acceptable in the academy, and apparently acceptable in the Democratic Party. So that's part of it. But what you just raised about her willingness to upset stare decisis, law that has been standing for a while. I mean, this is the root of human progress. When judges have the courage to say a given case, like Plessy against Ferguson, the separate but equal of the races, was wrong when decided, it's been wrong when applied, and wrong today. Now, I didn't make that up. That's Chief Justice Earl Warren in Brown versus Board of Education, when Plessy against Ferguson has effectively been thrown out and found inapplicable to the public school systems in the United States of America. The fact that she has the courage to say something like that, to show an open mind, should appeal to the very people that are attacking her.
Judge, there was an exchange last year when she was up for the Seventh Circuit, with now departed Senator Al Franken. I want to watch and share it with you.
I'm generally aware that the Southern Poverty Law Center fights discrimination and that they do classify some groups as hate groups.
Yeah, they track hate groups. And you spoke at an event sponsored by one of those hate groups.
Senator,
now, I question your judgment. The root word of judgment is judge.
ADF, if it were truly a hate group, it wouldn't be co-counsel. Right now, it has a brief from the Supreme Court with Wilmer Hale. They wouldn't be co-counsel with ADF if it were a hate group. I gather that the Southern Poverty Law Center's designation of ADF as a hate group is controversial.
Judge, of course, Alliance Defending Freedom, they're in court a lot, defending the First Amendment, religious rights, and so forth. But I thought it was hilarious looking back to see Al Franken saying, well, I don't like your judgment. I mean, he's kind of a good one to talk about bad judgment. But, you know, the Southern Poverty Law Center has been just smearing people left and right.
Well,
has been exposed as Tucker's done a great job on how politically biased they are against conservatives.
Well, welcome to the club. They've smeared you. They've smeared me. They've smeared Bill Donahue. They've smeared Holy Mother Church. They'll smear any person or entity, no matter how well grounded in first principles, if those first principles are not theirs. I don't think Judge Barrett should be worried about them. I'm more concerned, if she's the nominee, more concerned about Republicans who are fearful of somebody who might be critical of Roe versus Wade, like Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski. That troubles me a lot more than Al Franken's colleagues on the Democratic side.
Is it harder for Murkowski or Collins to oppose her just on the fact that she's, you know, should be a Republican female nominee to the court?
You know, it's hard for me to understand why certain people are wedded to abortion. If you're a Democrat, it's in your DNA. You think it's popular because you see these polls showing that 2/3 of the country thinks some form of abortion should be lawful. I'm hoping that they would admire her judgment, Senator Franken, and her courage more than they want to attack her on the abortion. But look, if this is going to become an issue on abortion, she's probably going to have to address this, how she feels about precedent. Yeah, but she can't be asked to address something that she knows she might have to address when she's on the court. That's the Ruth Bader Ginsburg rule.
Yeah. They're going to go around and around on that. Andrew Napolitano, it's always great having you on, Judge. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, Laura.
And by the way, the walkaway movement, maybe you've heard about it, walking away from liberalism. It's actually catching fire. Now the left is pulling out all the stops to try to discredit it. The campaign's founder joins us with his response. Next. There's a burgeoning new online movement billing itself as #walkaway, where once proud liberals denounce their former political identity as the left is moving further and further away from something called reality. But how serious is this campaign? The Washington Post, for one, says this isn't representative of some greater shift, but rather a figment of pro-Trump social media, writing, quote, "The walkaway meme is what happens when everything is viral and nothing matters." Joining us now to respond to that calumny is the founder of the movement, Brandon Straka. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hi, Laura. I'm doing well. How are you?
Great to see you. Okay, I'm going to be devil's advocate. Okay, devil's advocate time.
Great.
Now, this is Brandon, who's like, you're gay, hairdresser, want to be an actor. And now you're on TV. So are you punking us all? Am I going to like be, is like Ashton Kutcher going to come out and say, you're punked? Is this a big punk thing?
It's 100% not a punk thing. I had a red pill experience in 2017 after the election of Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, I welcome anyone to go to my Facebook page where I still have videos up from 2016 in which I'm crying because Hillary Clinton didn't get elected. I was devastated. No, this is very, very real.
So what is it about the left today specifically that has made you walk away?
You know what's so funny is I created that video a few months ago, and a few months ago my biggest concern was, you know, the nasty rhetoric, the intolerance, the name calling, the judgment, that was just 2 months ago. And since this video came out, we've already seen a greater shift. Now I'm actually worried about violence. I'm actually, like, it's already changed in just 2 months from where, you know, what my concerns were just 2 months ago. Now I'm actually worried that we may be on the brink of an incredibly violent, episode.
Now, we also have had the election of Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, Alexandria, in New York. She beats, in this primary, the #4 guy in the House of Representatives, Joe Crowley, out of nowhere. Right. And this is how and she's an avowed socialist. This is how the head of the Democratic National Committee describes her in this moment. Let's watch.
Okay.
The fourth most powerful Democrat in the United States Congress, Congressman Joe Crowley, was knocked out by a young woman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 28 years old, never ran for office before.
She represents the future of our party. She ran a spirited campaign.
Future of our party.
Yeah.
She obviously is very young. She thinks basically everything should be free. You should get free college. Everybody's guaranteed dignified health care. I don't know exactly what that is, but free, 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 free. And apparently abolish ICE, so no crackdown on human smuggling, child sex trafficking.
Right.
It's wild out there, but she is the future, according to the Democratic National Committee chairman.
Well, I think what they don't understand is that their party has no future. It's over, and that's exactly what this campaign that I've started, the Walk Away campaign, is proving. People are leaving the left by tens of thousands. My group is growing every day by tens of thousands, and it's amazing because it's actually happening on Facebook, and people are leaving testimonials. We're getting thousands of testimonials every day that are either through video or written word, where people are talking about how the left has become intolerable to them. They don't even recognize their party anymore. And what do these people stand for? I mean, what is their platform? All I can figure out so far is we hate Trump, and we love illegal immigrants, and that's what else is there?
Now, why were you a Democrat before, Brandon? I'm just curious. What drew you to be a Democrat?
Because I'm gay. I mean, that's it.
I have a lot of gay friends who are not Democrats, by the way, and people think they're bizarre, and it's real intolerance toward them. Two of my friends who watch every night, you'll know I'm talking about you especially, but they get a lot of CRAP from their pals, I can tell you that.
I'm sure. Yeah, and I used to be one of those people who would have given them that. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that if you're a minority in America, if you're a black person, if you're Hispanic, if you're gay, there's sort of this assumption that you are not wanted on the right, that you're not welcome on the right, and that you will be protected and cared for if you go to the left and you stick with the liberals and the Democrats. But we've seen now that that's absolutely not true. They really take us for granted, and beyond taking us for granted, they actually, for gay people, have used our fears and our traumas against us, trying to keep us in this constant state of feeling like we're afraid or our rights are in danger or the Trump administration's out to hurt us. And that really upsets me. I want gay people, I want all people, but particularly minorities in America, to know you have a choice. You don't have to vote Democrat just because you're a gay person. You don't have to vote Democrat just because you're a black person. If you're a minority, you have a choice. And that's what this campaign's about.
Well, Brandon, we really appreciate your joining us, and we welcome all people to the conservative movement, the Republican Party, and we're really glad you're out there, so thank you so much. And
thank you so much, Laura.
Whether or not the walkaway campaign becomes an actual political force, well, we'll see. But what's more clear, however, is that the Democratic Party has been embracing more and more ideas that are way outside the mainstream. They're now finding political inspiration, as I said, from a 28-year-old Democratic socialist from New York and a 79-year-old socialist, or 70, whatever Bernie Sanders is, and a 79-year-old leftist from L.A. calling for harassment of White House officials. Here to react is Herman Cain, a Fox News contributor, 2012 presidential candidate. And, of course, I was talking about Maxine Waters. I'm getting my septuagenarians on the left confused, Herman. We got Maxine, we got Bernie, and now we have Alexandria. This is a wild moment, but I think a lot more people are now, many more people are seeing just how far off the rails the Democrats have gone. Trump is freaking them out because he's doing such, frankly, a good job.
Right. Brandon nailed it, your previous guest, when he said that rhetoric is so nasty that it's turning a lot of people off. There's an old school saying that if someone says something stupid, they've fallen off their rocker. Well, Maxine has never been on her rocker. And this is why she has gone over the cliff with some of the things that she's saying. And that's what's causing people like Brandon and others to walk away. Look, you've heard me say this on your show before. The American people are not stupid. They're not wedded to a particular party. They look at the facts, and the fact is that the Democrats have no message. They have no leadership. And people that are informed, like Brandon and others, are saying, I'm walking away from this. This does not represent me, and it does not represent America.
Okay, I've been dying to share something with you, Herman. This was an exchange between Chuck Todd and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, again, about what socialism kind of means to her. Let's watch.
What is your definition of democratic socialist?
Well, for me, again, and there's so much focus on this endorsement, but I also think it's important that an important part of my strategy in winning was building a broad-based coalition of people.
She went on to talk about like how we should have dignified health care. We didn't play that part, but dignified health care, everybody's entitled to X, Y, Z. But you could see she was like trying to buy time at the beginning. It's like, okay, what I believe I mean, God bless her, but I don't think she knows what it is, because it's all been a meme. It's all been a real hashtag way of approaching politics. And so maybe there's a new hashtag movement will say, you know, we're just not seeing this anymore.
No, remember, there are 435 congressional districts. She structured a message to appeal to the people in her district with the whole message of free, 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 free. But then when she's asked, well, what does socialism mean? She can't give an answer that is compelling in terms of something that has been well thought out. I don't make a big deal out of the fact that she got elected. Maybe the people in her congressional district, maybe they want to hear the message about a lot of free stuff. That's not what I'm hearing and seeing in the rest of the country. They are rejecting socialism. They are rejecting this principle of free, free, free. Even though Bernie Sanders got a raw deal during the Democratic primary, people are not buying his message of democratic socialism. No. The American people like the things that we're seeing from this president, and they are supporting these results, not the perception that people like Maxine Waters is trying to create.
Herman, there was a ICE bust in Oakland, I think it was yesterday, of this human trafficking ring that I think even young children were being trafficked. It was an unbelievable bust. They showed up at this townhouse. And then, like, within a matter of seconds, no one knew what it was. They just saw ICE vehicles. All these millennials started showing up, emoting, saying ICE is not welcome here. Then the reporter ends the report by saying, well, it turns out that this is a human trafficking operation that ICE has shut down. Just proving, you don't even have to criticize them. You just put the facts out there. They literally do not know what they're saying. And on the immigration issue, Herman, the polling, I knew it was going to be in the Republicans' favor, and this is what it's saying. I want you to take a look at this. This is Quinnipiac today. Right. Most important issue to you in deciding how to vote for president, immigration is 27%, economy is 23%, health care, and it's immigration is number 2 for Democrats. It's number 1 for Republicans because the economy is already doing so well. I think this is backfiring on the Democrats big time.
I definitely believe it is backfiring. And Kellyanne Conway, I think, summed it up the best, that I have also used. People who want to eliminate ICE is based upon ignorance and impracticality. It's ignorance because a lot of the people who are anti-ICE, they don't even know what ICE does.
That's real hashtag thinking, Herman. And they struggle and they struggle and they struggle, and then they're like, I hate Trump. That's all they have. Herman, we're out of time, but have a wonderful Independence Day. It's always great to have you on the show.
God is blessing America. Thank you, Laura.
All right. And a shocking new study reveals how few adults are actually proud to be an American. Seen and Unseen with Arroyo next.
Live from America's news headquarters, I'm Robert Gray. President Trump's working through a list of 25 candidates to replace the retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy on the Supreme Court. 3 more candidates were interviewed by the president today, according to a White House spokesman. He did not divulge their names. The nominee is expected to be announced on Monday. 2 men pleading no contest to dozens of counts of involuntary manslaughter for the 2016 warehouse fire that killed 36 people in Oakland, California. Derek Almina and Max Harris are accused of running an illegal, unpermitted entertainment venue known as the Ghost Ship. Almina, seen here on the left, faces up to 10 years for illegally operating the space. Harris faces 6 years for helping collect rent and scheduling events. They'll be formally sentenced in August. I'm Robert Gray. Now back to the Ingraham Angle.
It's time now for our Seen and Unseen segment, where we expose what's behind the big cultural stories of the day. Okay, first up, alarming new reports about exposing how U.S. adults and millennials truly feel about being American. For more, we're going to be joined now by Fox News contributor, New York Times bestselling author of the Will Wilder series, Raymond Arroyo. Okay, so 4th of July, Independence Day. We're a patriotic people, are we not, Raymond Arroyo?
Well, not if you talk to Gallup. We have fallen in our sense of patriotism. Gallup asked, are you proud to be an American?
No.
It went from 70% in 2003, we'll put it up on the screen, to only 47% of adults saying they're extremely proud to be an American.
Love it or leave
today.
it, baby. Love it or leave it.
You know, Campus Reform sent a camera crew to my alma mater, to NYU, to ask them if they were proud to be an American. And, well, here's what they discovered.
Do you consider yourself today proud to be an American?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. No. No, not in the America we have right now. No, I'm not proud. No.
Are you proud to be an American?
Definitely not.
No, I'm not proud of America.
I think we need to stop thinking that we're the best nation on earth, because that's just egotistical and it's not accurate.
This is symptomatic, though, of a culture that is taught, but it's taught generations. Our history is bad. The men and women who made this country are evil. There's dark shadows that need to be considered, and it's cast a pall over their appreciation of what it means to be an American. But this is cultural fallout. When you take statues down, when you rip historical figures away without putting them in a proper context, this is what you get.
Well, this is what you get on generations of public schooling, where we don't learn about the founding, the greatness of our framers, our Constitution, our Declaration. It's like every other country, except it's worse.
So how do we turn it back this July 4th?
Well, how do we turn it back?
Well, I think you find family events that reinforce a sense of patriotism. I always tell people, the World War II Memorial in New Orleans, the museum, incredible. Look at the cost of sacrifice for freedom. Then play something like 1776, the old musical. It's a great way to introduce families to the tenuous nature of this experiment in Republican democracy.
Oh, there it is. I'm watching it.
There it is.
So great.
We play it every year for the kids, and it's made my boys and girls figure, who is Adams? Who is Ben Franklin? How do they fit together?
You know what those kids at NYU need to do? Spend a little time. They need to spend a little time at the VA or at Arlington or any of the other national cemeteries. Spend some time with some veterans.
See the cost
or active
of freedom.
You know, sorry, bratty. It's bratty. You can criticize Trump, go at it, but come on. That makes my blood boil. And yesterday, a lunch spot in D.C., another Trump official was confronted by a protester. This time it was EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt.
I just wanted to urge you to resign because of what you're doing to the environment in our country. This is my son. He loves animals. He loves clean air. He loves clean water.
This is Kristen Mink. She is a 6th grade teacher. You notice she was reading off a script in her hand. You should resign as EPA chief.
Wasn't she on a show, MSNBC show, Raymond?
She was.
Do we have that clip?
Well, we have a clip of it. We'll play it while we talk. But this is, she appeared and she had a T-shirt on. And I thought as a 6th grade teacher, this is interesting. The T-shirt says, your founding fathers owned slaves. Now, this embodies, I think, the self-hatred of America. Look, my ancestors were in Spain and Italy when the founding of this republic happened. However, these are our founding fathers.
My ancestors.
And, you know, in a time when we're told not to judge anybody, we shouldn't judge people, I think judging the founding fathers by their sins, and slavery was a dark sin, on a stain on the country, to judge them exclusively
just on that
is
they never
ridiculous.
did anything else that can ever overcome
then
that.
we better torch Monticello and Mount Vernon.
Oh,
if
they
that's
will.
Well, we shouldn't. You look at people and you take them for good and bad, and you learn from their errors, and you take the good and try to perpetuate that. That's what America's about, and we're bigger than our sins. And that's what I hope we remember this
I liked how that woman confronting Pruitt was holding the baby and the note card.
Well, you need the shield.
Yeah, she got the note card, but she couldn't remember those really profound thoughts she had that her baby wants clean water.
You need to retire as EPA. First of all,
get out of
we're
town.
better
All
than
right.
this kind of confrontation, too. I don't
Take
like
the camera
this.
away, and all
the
the protests will go away. It's all about social media.
Happy July.
Happy 4th of July and Independence Day. Stay tuned for our interview with Suzanne Summers. And Obama-era rules pushing race in college admissions may be a thing of the past soon, thanks to President Trump. Stay tuned. A major policy of the Obama presidency will likely be no more. The Trump administration is preparing to roll back Obama-era rules pushing the consideration of race in college admissions. Trump's embrace of race-neutral admissions is a victory for critics of affirmative action, but the news is already sparking a serious blowback on the left. Joining us now to debate is Horace Cooper, the co-chairman of Project 21, along with TV and radio talk show host Rolanda Watts. Rolanda, it's great to see you. Horace, happy 4th to both of you. Rolanda, what is your thought here? Because for the longest time, I think Americans were like, we got to get the best, the brightest, without regard to skin color or gender, ethnicity, because we're all people, everybody deserves a chance. So why would the left now be against this, given the fact that we're all equal and we're all, wanting the same opportunities? Not everyone can get into Harvard, obviously, but Harvard and other schools, they do lower standards, according to the data, for certain groups over other groups. Asians get, and a lot of people say, discriminated against, and other groups can get in more easily. Why is that right?
Well, I think it's a sad day in America when you don't have support for diversity, considering the fact that this is the very factor that this nation is built on. And quite honestly, in my opinion, it's the thing that makes this nation so beautiful. I agree with some of those who argue that this is another political attack, trying to rally up the racial resistant movement. And that this is also part of knocking down anything that's Obama and knocking down anything that involves diversity. We wouldn't have these laws and policies in place if we didn't have an issue with there being a lack of diversity in some cases. So
you think African Americans wouldn't get into Harvard or Yale or UCLA without race-based affirmative action? They wouldn't get in?
No, absolutely. I'm not saying that at all. Well, I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying that there needs to be a fairness, a diversity.
Fairness is called test scores and your resume, and how well you did in classes. That's your.
Absolutely. Right. But you and I are not naive enough to think that there has not been an opportunity always for blacks and minorities in the education world.
Yeah,
well, we
can't
say those days are over, honey. Those days are not over.
Well, first of all, I would take issue with what Rolanda said, that the most important ideal in America is diversity. I would say the most important ideal is what we're celebrating tomorrow: liberty, freedom. This is a nation built on freedom, Horace. But it is true, diversity is important to a lot of Americans, and this looks like kind of a slap in the face of 8 years of Obama and what he was all about.
It was always overreach with these guidance letters. The Supreme Court has never said affirmative action for affirmative action's sake was a great thing. It always said it had to be a last resort. It had to be narrowly tailored. What these guidance letters did was exactly the opposite. If you're a good school, you need to do this. Now, it implies we won't have scientists, we won't have doctors, we won't have any bright people. I say that's racist if you believe there'll never be astronauts, there'll never be scientists or bright people who are black without extra help on the part of the government with affirmative action.
Yeah, Rolanda, do you have any issue with what places like Harvard are doing with Asian students? I mean, there's a big expose going on about how Asian students are being discriminated against because they kill it in test scores. I mean, they are just, they get the best test scores.
Well, first of all, I think it's a heck of an assumption to assume that children of color, students of colors don't score highly as well.
You wouldn't need affirmative action
You're making our point. I think everyone can get into these schools if you work hard and you do well. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, yellow, it doesn't matter.
But come on.
So why should race be coming into into the fore at all.
Because let's be for real here. There has been a lot of discrimination, and I think that also it's not always just about the color of one's skin. Let's look at across the board economically as well. African American families make an average in this nation of less than $5,000. White families make $87,000 a year.
Okay,
so
that doesn't address what we're talking about. Using race as a factor in decision making, I believe, is racist, because you're actually using a racial immutable characteristic as a classification, which I thought we were supposed to get away with. Guys, I want to have you both on radio because this is such a hot topic. We need like an hour to discuss. Horace and Rolanda, thank you so much. By the way, the Me Too movement is wreaking havoc in Hollywood. Suzanne Summers is going to talk about it up next. There are few people who know Hollywood and how to build a brand better than Suzanne Summers. Her career has spanned decades, and with the Me Too movement causing extraordinary upheaval in the industry, her insight and experience are more valuable than ever. Raymond Arroyo and I recently sat down with Suzanne for a rollicking interview about what's next for Hollywood and how things have changed since she began her legendary career at just 19 years old. So we were talking about like what we miss about certain eras of television the other day, and we were talking about Carson, of course, Johnny, and we were saying, all the people that crossed his path, all the people who he goofed with on stage, and then I didn't realize that he discovered you.
He did.
I didn't even know this. How did I not know this?
I read in the trades. I was living in Sausalito. They were looking for a girl, a small town girl who had no idea what she looked like and didn't know who she was. And I thought, that's me. And I got together the $25, flew to Los Angeles to NBC Burbank. Ignorance is, is great, because I didn't know there's a way to do this with agents and appointments.
How old were you? 21?
19.
19.
I walk in, I drive up. I was in love with Alan Hamill, so I had him pick me up, and I said, I have an interview at NBC. He didn't ask, and he just knew he was going to sleep with me that night.
Oh.
And I come up to NBC, and why are you here? I'm here for the Dom DeLuise show. Oh, go over there and park over there. So I read, and they said, oh, very nice. We're giving you a call back. I said, great. So I go out to the receptionist. I have a call back. And she said, that's good for you. And I said, what is that? She said, they're going to call you back. Yeah. All right. Well,
catch on
where
quick,
do I
Suzanne.
go? And now I'm her problem. She's irritated. She goes, well, I don't know. Go wait in the commissary, I guess. Words that changed my life. I'm sitting there all by myself like this, good Catholic school girl with my hands crossed.
Mahoney,
like
a good Mahoney.
Right. And I can always tell who went to Catholic school by this. Look at this threesome here. And I'm sitting there, and I see over there, oh my God, that's Johnny Carson. Oh my God, that's Johnny Carson's coming. He's walking over towards me. He's walking towards me.
Hi,
and he says, hey, little lady, what are you doing here? And I said, I have a callback, because now I have lingo, right?
So then how did it?
So this is Wednesday. I handed him my only thing I had, which was my book of poetry, and one credit. Which
Poetry?
Was poetry, 1973. My book, on the back, I had my one credit that I was the mysterious blonde in the Thunderbird. So it's Wednesday.
In American Graffiti.
In American Graffiti.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And Friday night, I made my debut on television, charged a dress I couldn't afford, $76, which seemed like so much money at the time. And I thought, oh my God, they love my poetry. And I hear Johnny Carson say, we've all been wondering who the mysterious blonde in the Thunderbird is in American Graffiti. And I'm thinking, you were? Because I hadn't seen the movie yet. And the curtain opened, and he just loved me because I was so out of
innocent.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
you were
totally innocent. Yeah.
And
so he started having me on every month for years, and my book of poetry became the #1 best-selling book of poetry, along with Rod McEwen.
Oh my gosh!
And Freddie Silverman over at ABC,
Yes.
he sees you.
Yeah.
They're casting the show Three's Company, but he's already cast 2 actresses as Chrissy Snow.
You're right.
And what happened?
They didn't test well, and he said in the meeting, Laura goes, I got the girl. I see her on the Tonight Show all the time.
Oh my God.
Right place, right time. I don't know. The stars lined up for me. So what an interesting ride it's been.
Well, and then the show is such a huge success. You're the it girl. You're the cover girl in the 70s.
#1 show in the country.
Number one show in the country. Very racy. Now, back then, one of our people said I was very racist. Like, my parents would let me watch the Three's Company.
My parents did.
Oh, okay. No wonder you turned out the way you did.
You see, this is the problem.
Yeah, well, that's New Orleans. That's New Orleans.
That's right.
Yeah, we're in Connecticut.
It's a little different in New Orleans.
Connecticut was very. But compared to today, and television today, this is positive. You were positively prudish back in the 70s.
Absolutely. In fact, Chrissy Snow was kissed once. Her first kiss was in those 6 years, but her whole thing was moral outrage at everything.
Right, that's right.
That, you know, things you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but it's just wild because it was you if you're a certain age, you were not supposed to watch that show. And those rules are out the window.
Right.
What is your thought today about the quality of entertainment? We kind of joke that there's a lot of, a lot of repetition. They're doing, everything is being done over. Jurassic Park again. You're doing Willy Wonka again.
How long until the Three's Company reboot?
I have an idea.
Oh.
I have an idea.
You mean the three of us?
Give it away here. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, come and knock on our door.
I'm so sorry John is gone. That would be a wonderful reboot. He was magic. He was absolute
And
magic.
you guys made up after the
month before he died. He never after I was fired, it became you're either with us and against her or with her and against us. So
you wanted more money. They didn't want to give it to you.
I wanted to be paid commensurate with what the men were being paid. The men were being paid 10 and 15 times more than me, and I'm on the #1 show with the highest demographics of all women in prime time at that time, and so I still feel right that for asking for it. But he never talked to me again. None of the cast or crew ever talked to me again.
They thought you wrecked the show. You were like,
and I think that was what they were fed, that she's trying to ruin our show. And a month before John died, I'm at the beauty salon, and I'm having my hair shampooed, and you have a phone call. I said, thank you, can you take a message? It's John Ritter. So I go over, and I pick up the phone, and he says, look, babe, I forgive you, which took me a moment. It took me a moment. And I thought, put on your big girl pants, Suzanne. I said, thanks. I've had a lot of therapy. And he wanted me to appear in a dream sequence on the show he was doing. He wanted Joyce and I to appear in a nightmare he's having. I went,
nightmare? No.
I said, there's kind of a hunger for us to reunite. I don't think this is optimal.
Would it have happened if he had lived, do you think?
Yes, so that's what we decided, to look for a project together, and then a month later he dies.
What about the Me Too movement? Good thing, a little too political? Is everyone afraid to hug each other now? I mean, what's going on with it?
This probably won't be real popular, but I think that women, I totally understand the Weinstein and Bill Cosby, and that's of course. But, like Morgan Freeman's a big flirt. I know him really well, and he sees you, and he'll like your dress, and he'll like your hair, and he'll like a lot of things. And I hope the dance doesn't stop. It's seduction, it's flirting. All those things are really fun. So I hope there's a way we can find a nice medium with that.
And you're an incredibly successful businesswoman. You've recreated yourself in so many different ways. It's amazing.
Had to. When I opened my Broadway one-woman show, I said, I'm a shmoo. And I said, you know what a shmoo is? I said, my brother got one for Christmas one year. It's a life-size punching bag that has a clown face. You punch it, it bounces back. You punch it, it bounces. It doesn't matter how many times you punch it, it always bounces back. And I sort of live my life like a shmoo. So anytime there's anything negative, I now am old enough to say, where's the lesson? What am I supposed to learn? What am I teaching myself? Using negatives like judo, using
like jiu-jitsu. You use that energy.
Forward energy. Exactly. And my husband and I have this great partnership, and he does what he does, and I do what I do, and we work.
What's the secret to a 40-year marriage? A happy one. Not a 40-year marriage, but a happy one.
50 years together.
Wow.
We compliment each other a lot and mean it, and gratitude. I wake up, honestly, every morning, and I talk about how grateful I am for the life that I have, and him, and love, and family, and all that.
Oh, fantastic. For both of us, we're just such huge fans of yours, personally and professionally. Thank you so much for being with us for a little amount of time today. We really appreciate it. And we'll be right back with a special 4th of July message from our 40th president.